Tonight, as you sit down, let your body relax. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. All the worries, words, and arguments of the long day, set them aside for now, because in this very moment you are joining Dharma in motion on a journey into stillness, where simply being silent allows life to naturally change and peace will find its way to you. In modern life, we speak too much and listen too little. We try to prove, to explain, to make others understand us, but the more we talk, the more tangled our hearts become. Perhaps you too have felt weary from constantly having to react to the world. We fear silence because in silence we are forced to face ourselves. Yet it is in that very moment that wisdom begins to sprout, and the soul hears the deepest voice within. The Buddha once taught that those with great wisdom often appear foolish, and those with great compassion often appear weak. For true wisdom needs no display, and true compassion needs no performance. Silence in the light of the Dharma is not passivity or weakness, but the expression of a mature mind, one no longer swept away by winning or losing, right or wrong, gain or loss. When the mind is at peace, we need no justification, for all things will naturally become clear. Once a man came to insult the Buddha. The Buddha sat quietly, his eyes gentle. When the man finished, the Buddha simply asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the giver." The Buddha smiled. "Indeed, the words you just spoke, I did not accept, so they still belong to you." That simple teaching is the pinnacle of wisdom in silence. One who understands the power of stillness seeks to defeat no one, for they know the greatest victory is conquering themselves. When we are silent, the mind becomes like a windless lake. Only when the water is still can the sky be clearly reflected. If we keep stirring it, the water only grows murkier and we see nothing at all. There are pains that speaking only deepens, misunderstandings that explaining only widens. In such moments, silence is not escape, it is healing. In silence, we begin to hear the breath, the heartbeat, the birds outside the window, and even the quiet sobs within. When we listen deeply like this, afflictions fade away, for all suffering arises from resistance, while peace comes from acceptance. See how, in nature, the greatest things unfold in silence. The seed sprouts in the soil without a sound. The sun rises each morning without applause. The flower blooms without needing praise. Nature teaches us that what is truly valuable never needs to be loud. And when we begin to live that way, slowing down, listening, reacting less, we witness miracles. Everything begins to come on its own. The people meant to meet us will arrive. The work meant to be done will appear. Happiness, opportunities, good fortune, all naturally emerge when our hearts are calm. For the universe can only deliver its gifts when we are open to receive, not when we are struggling in noise. The Buddha taught that one who can keep a calm mind amid the current of life possesses the greatest strength. That strength does not come from muscles or power, but from mastery over emotions, speech, and action. When you learn to be silent at the right time, you plant the seed of wisdom. When you smile instead of arguing, you create blessings for yourself. Therefore, right now, take a few moments for silence. Do nothing, just inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Feel the air coming in and out. Feel your mind softening. That is the beginning of peace. From this moment, our journey in the Just Be Silent series will be a journey of stillness, where you learn to return to yourself, no longer swayed by the noise of the world. For sometimes it is not that we haven't heard the answer, but that we have spoken too much to hear our own hearts. In the next part, we will go deeper into how to keep the mind peaceful amid praise and blame, pressure and misunderstanding. where silence becomes the mirror reflecting wisdom and nurturing compassion. Tonight, that's all you need. Take a deep breath, smile gently, and listen to the silence blooming within you. Silence. It is not emptiness, but where peace begins. When you step out of silence, life unfolds again in countless sounds. The morning traffic, the unread messages, the words that irritate us, the thoughts that linger. Every day we live in a vast ocean of noise where everyone hurries, everyone speaks, but few truly listen. And in that rushing current, keeping a quiet space for the mind is an art. The Buddha taught that a wise person is not one who knows much, but one who knows when to stop. To stop in order to see clearly, to listen deeply, to not be carried away. When we stop, the mind becomes like an island amid a rushing stream, steady, unmoved, no matter how fierce the waves outside. Do you see, most of our exhaustion doesn't come from big things, but from small, repeated irritations? A judgmental look, a careless word, an unfinished argument. We wake each morning already heavy with yesterday's fragments of emotion. Like a cup of water constantly stirred, it never clears. But if we stop stirring and let it rest, the sediments settle, and the water becomes clear again. The mind is the same. In silence, the waves calm, and clarity naturally returns. The Buddha once compared a practitioner to one holding a lamp in the wind. The wind is life, the competition, the pressure, the injustice. The lamp is wisdom. Without protection, the wind will extinguish the light within us. And every time we react in anger, argue, or fight, we let that wind blow out our flame. Keeping silent when the mind stirs is guarding your own lamp. For words once spoken are like arrows released. They cannot return. Silence is the shield that protects us from unnecessary wounds, from the regret that follows impulsive moments. Remember the story of Grandma Tu, the gentle old woman selling vegetables in a noisy market. She was often scolded, misunderstood, and envied by the vendor next to her. Every day she heard harsh words. People advised her to talk back, to make things clear. But she only smiled and said, "If the water is muddy and you keep stirring it, how can you see the bottom?" She stayed silent, not out of fear, but because she understood that arguing never brings peace, and it was that very silence that softened the other's heart. When that woman fell ill, Grandma Tu was the first to bring porridge to visit her, without resentment, without blame. From then on, all hostility faded, and the market became peaceful again. Silence, in that case, was the act of wisdom and compassion. It was understanding that winning an argument does not make us happier, but keeping peace makes our hearts free. In this age, people speak easily, judge quickly, and are easily hurt. But the Buddha taught that not everything that can be said should be said. A truthful word without compassion can still wound another, while a kind lie can sometimes save a life. Thus, wisdom in speech is knowing when to be silent. If someone insults you, try not to respond immediately. Take a deep breath and feel it. Let the energy of anger pass like clouds at dusk. When you calm down, you will see that they are not truly bad. They are simply suffering. One who speaks hurtful words is someone who has not yet seen their own pain and is trying to throw it outward. If we react, we only take that pain upon ourselves. The Buddha taught, hatred is not quelled by hatred. Hatred is only quelled by compassion. Silence, in that case, is the embodiment of love. And then you will realize something. When we maintain silence, not only does the outer world change, but the inner world within us also blossoms. Emotions soften, the gaze becomes more forgiving, words grow gentler. We no longer seek to win or lose, but only to understand and to love. One who knows silence is one who sees deeply. They do not avoid, they observe. They do not endure, they cultivate. For each time we choose silence in anger, we train a resilient soul. Each time we smile instead of reacting, we plant another seed of compassion. Tonight, before sleeping, try a small practice. Sit still, close your eyes, breathe deeply in and slowly out. Recall something that upset you today. Don't judge it, don't suppress it. Just watch that feeling like a cloud passing across the sky. You are only the observer, not carried away. Then smile and whisper, "I see you. Thank you for coming so I can understand myself better." After a while, you will feel lighter. The anger will dissolve like mist. In that silence, you are nurturing wisdom. From wisdom, compassion naturally arises, and from compassion, peace returns. In a noisy world, the one who knows silence is the strongest, not because they are weak, but because they understand enough not to be swept into chaos. In the next part, we will talk about keeping the lamp in the wind, a profound lesson on protecting wisdom and peace amid the turbulence of modern life. Tonight, you only need to do one thing: sit still, listen to your breath, and smile. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of peace. Imagine that within you there is a small lamp. That light is wisdom, is peace, is the stillness deep inside the heart. But life outside is the wind, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. An insult, a misunderstanding, an unexpected event. Each can make the lamp flicker. Keeping it lit amid life's winds is keeping yourself from being swept away by emotional storms. The Buddha once taught, "No fire burns like anger, no sin is greater than delusion, no suffering is deeper than a restless mind." When we are angry, we burn ourselves. When we are silent, we extinguish that fire with the breath of wisdom. Silence is not weak endurance, but the strength of the awakened, the one who knows when to stop to protect the light within. A Zen story tells of a novice monk who, one evening, accidentally spilled his master's oil lamp. The fire caught on the mat, and the boy knelt in fear, tears falling. The master looked at him kindly and said, "A lamp that goes out can be relit, but if you let the wind of anger blow out your wisdom, you will have no light left to guide your way." The novice understood. From then on, whenever he made mistakes, he no longer justified or feared, but bowed his head, breathed deeply, and silently learned his lesson. That silence kept the lamp in his heart burning, no matter how strong the winds outside. In modern life, each of us faces countless winds: work pressure, comparisons, harsh comments, wounds from loved ones. Each time we let emotions carry us away, the wind grows stronger. But when we pause, take just one deep breath, the wind weakens, and the light within flares bright again. Some say they have lost much simply because they could not stay silent. They spoke harsh words and regretted them. They reacted in anger and lost someone they loved, until they learned one truth: before you speak, the word is your servant. After you speak, you are its slave. And from then on, they began to practice silence, not to avoid, but to choose the right moment to speak with clarity. The Buddha taught, each deep breath is a return to yourself. The breath is the thread that ties us to the present. When we inhale, we know we are inhaling. When we exhale, we know we are exhaling. It seems simple, yet in that moment we are truly alive, truly present, and the lamp of wisdom is lit once more. If someone hurts you, don't rush to respond. Place your hand on your chest, take a deep breath, feel your heartbeat, and softly say to yourself, "I allow my anger to pass." Repeat it a few times and you will feel your emotions gradually calm down. When the anger passes, your freedom remains intact. But if you let anger lead the way, you will lose yourself. Silence in Buddhism is not avoidance. It is the wisdom of one who observes without judgment. When we look at our anger like a passing cloud, we are no longer the anger. We are the vast sky, and every cloud eventually fades. Some say that when we can stay silent amid noise, we not only save ourselves, but also others. because one calm person can soothe 10 who are angry. A gentle smile can dissolve a storm. Keeping the lamp in the wind is learning to protect the heart through all challenges. For if the heart is swept away by the wind, we act in ignorance. But if the heart remains bright, we will know what is right to do, what is kind to say, and what is wise to release. When you understand this, you will see that silence is not emptiness, but the space that holds all wisdom. Silence is not to withdraw from the world, but to return and act toward it with your purest light. In the next part, we will walk together into the lesson, The Greatest Victory, Conquering Oneself, where silence becomes the strength that helps us overcome anger, pain, and misunderstanding in life. Let the lamp in your heart continue to shine, no matter how strong the winds outside may blow, because as long as that light remains, your path will never be dark. When we hear the words victory, we often think of defeating someone, surpassing others, or achieving something external. But in Buddhism, there is a nobler kind of victory, the victory over oneself. For external enemies can harm us once, but the inner enemies, greed, anger, and ignorance, can mislead us for a lifetime. Humans always want to prove, to be recognized, to have the last word in an argument. But think about it. After we win, do we really feel happy? Or is it just a fleeting relief followed by fatigue, emptiness, and regret for losing our peace? The Buddha taught, conquering thousands in battle is not as great as conquering oneself. Self-mastery is the most glorious victory. For within us, battles happen every day. When someone says something hurtful, we want to retaliate. When we fail, we want to blame. When we see others succeed, we want to compare. These battles, if we are not mindful, will never end. Conquering oneself does not mean suppressing emotions, but understanding them. When angry, we know we are angry. When sad, we recognize sadness. When envious, we smile at our own weakness, knowing it too is part of being human. That recognition is the first step of awakening. It is like standing in the middle of a storm without running away, quietly watching it pass. Such a person is not passive but strong enough not to resist unnecessarily, because they know the storm will pass, and they choose not to waste energy fighting what is natural. A practitioner once asked a Zen master, "Master, how can I not get angry when someone insults me?" The master smiled and said, "When you know you're about to be angry, slow down. If you are standing, sit down. If you are speaking, be silent. If you are thinking, breathe. Just stop. And you will see that the anger is not as real as you think." Anger is like fire and silence is water. When water flows, fire is extinguished. The one who knows how to stay silent in anger is the one who knows how to protect themselves from harm. For words spoken in anger have no master. They are merely the echoes of suffering. A very ordinary example. When someone says something unpleasant to us, our first reaction is to defend ourselves. But if we slow down for a moment, we can hear something else, the pain in their words. Perhaps they are under pressure, hurting, or simply need to be heard. When we understand that, we no longer feel anger, only compassion. And when compassion arises, the victory is already ours. There are people who spend many years realizing that victory in silence is not surrender but a choice for peace. They once argued to prove themselves right, to protect their pride, and in the end, only found emptiness inside. When they learned to listen without reacting, they discovered that what truly matters is not who is right or wrong, but who can keep their heart unmoved. One who conquers oneself no longer seeks recognition from others. They simply know they are on the right path. Like a sailor on the ocean who cannot stop the waves but can learn to steer the oar. Life is the vast sea, the waves are circumstances, and the mind is the boat. If the boat is steady, no matter how big the waves, it will not sink. Conquering oneself also means learning not to let the mind be controlled by external conditions. A compliment that makes us too happy, a criticism that makes us sad too long, both are signs of losing self-mastery. When we are truly calm, praise is but a gentle breeze, criticism but a distant sound. Nothing can shake us, for our heart is rooted in understanding. Someone once asked, "If I stay silent all the time, will I be seen as weak?" No, because silence does not mean inaction. It is the action of wisdom. One who knows silence will speak when it is needed, and when they do, their words carry weight, because such words arise from clarity, not reaction. In a noisy world, the calmer one is, the stronger their presence. They do not need to prove anything. Their mere presence brings peace. For within them there are no storms, only a still lake reflecting the light of compassion. Conquering oneself is not a short journey. It is something we must practice every day in each thought, word, and action. Every time we choose to listen instead of argue, to understand instead of judge, to stay silent instead of get angry, we win over ourselves once more. And if one day you can sit amid noise yet remain calm, hear criticism yet still smile, face difficulty without fear, then you have truly won. In the next part, we will talk about the power of listening, when silence is not just the absence of speech, but the opening of the heart to listen deeper, understand clearer, and love greater. For the greatest victory of a human being lies not in power, but in the ability to live in harmony with oneself. And when you have conquered yourself, you will no longer fear losing to anyone. In life, everyone wants to be heard, but few truly know how to listen. We often listen to respond, to defend our viewpoint, not to understand. Thus, the more one speaks, the farther the other drifts, and the gap between two souls grows wider. The Buddha taught, "When you listen with compassion, all suffering will be transformed." Listening in Buddhism is not just with the ears, but with the heart, with presence. When we listen deeply, we no longer get caught in the words, but see the suffering behind them. One who speaks hurtful words is often carrying pain within. If we listen only with our ears, we hear offense. But if we listen with our hearts, we hear the cry of a wounded soul. A mother once shared that her teenage son became distant. Every time she tried to advise him, he snapped and slammed the door. She cried, thinking he was ungrateful. One day, she decided to stay silent. No more preaching, no more scolding, just sitting beside him and listening when he spoke. She didn't interrupt, didn't react. Gradually, the boy opened up, sharing his pressures, fears, and things he had never dared to say. She realized that only when she stopped talking could she truly hear her child. And through that, their bond was healed. Listening has the power to heal more deeply than any advice, because when we truly listen, the other feels seen and acknowledged. The feeling of being understood is the medicine for all wounds. In Buddhism, there is a practice called deep listening. In this practice, we place our full attention on the speaker, without judgment, without interruption, without thinking of what to say next. We listen with compassion. It is not a passive act, but a way to offer peaceful energy to one who suffers. Those who know how to listen also know how to be silent. Silence here does not mean withholding speech, but refraining from letting the noise of the ego interrupt the dialogue. The ego always wants to argue, to be right. But when we set it aside, we begin to hear what the other truly wants to say. Sometimes just one sincere listening gaze can bring someone to tears and lighten their heart. They don't need advice, only a space to be understood. Like the earth, it does not speak, yet it can embrace all waste and transform it into flowers. One who listens deeply can receive the suffering of others without being infected by it, for within them lies the foundation of understanding. Sometimes we need to listen to ourselves. All day we hear the world's noise but forget to hear our own hearts. When tired, we push harder. When sad, we force a smile. When lonely, we drown ourselves in noise. But if we pause and listen, we will realize that our hearts have long been yearning for rest. A cup of tea, a slow breath, an unhurried afternoon, all are ways to listen to ourselves. Listening to oneself is the foundation of compassion, because only when we understand our own suffering can we truly understand that of others. When we don't understand ourselves, even our help can become imposition. A true practitioner speaks little. They listen more, understand deeper, and act more gently. They do not rush to judge or prove, for they know everyone is walking their own path. When we listen not to fix but to understand, our hearts grow more spacious. Someone asked, "How can we listen deeply in a busy life?" The answer lies in presence. Whether in a meeting, a talk with your child, or when someone confides, try doing only one thing. Listen. Don't check your phone. Don't think of something else. Don't interrupt. Just be fully present with each breath. When we are truly present, the other person will feel it, and the conversation will naturally deepen. Deep listening is not to react, but to understand. And understanding is the beginning of love. When understanding arises, the heart softens. When the heart softens, the world outside also becomes gentle. If one day you find someone too difficult to listen to, remember they are simply a person in pain who doesn't yet know how to express it. Instead of arguing, let silence be the language. When we no longer wish to win, we begin to understand. And when we understand, we cannot help but love. In the next part, we will go deeper into when words themselves are karma, to see that not only silence but speech, too, carries karmic energy. And only when we understand the power of words can we truly know when to speak and when to be silent. For listening is the beginning of wisdom, and speaking with understanding is the expression of compassion. When the two merge, they form the path that leads us back to true peace. Words are something we use every day, seemingly harmless. Yet in Buddhism, speech is one of the three doors of karma: body, speech, and mind. A word can save a life, but it can also wound someone for a lifetime. A gentle sentence can open peace, while a harsh one can ignite war. Thus, words are not just sounds, they are energy. They leave imprints not only on the listener's heart, but also on the speaker's. The Buddha taught right speech, one of the 8 elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech means speaking truthfully, speaking harmoniously, speaking words that bring understanding and happiness, and avoiding 4 kinds of wrong speech: lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. Think about it. Have you ever said something casually that someone else never forgot, or been deeply hurt by words someone spoke and then forgot? Words are like arrows. Even if brief, when shot from a heart of anger, they can create wounds unseen by the eye. A Zen master once said, "One who truly practices doesn't only cultivate the body, but also the speech." Speech is the mirror of the soul. When the mind is calm, words are naturally gentle. When the mind is restless, words become sharp. Therefore, to purify speech is also to cultivate the heart. In modern life, we speak endlessly. In meetings, on social media, in texts, in fleeting comments. The more words, the easier energy scatters. Some speak without thinking, some think but never speak, and some speak too quickly before the heart has understood. The Buddha taught, "Before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it beneficial? Is it kind? If not all 3, let silence speak instead." Silence is not avoidance, but the highest form of right speech, because sometimes the best thing we can do for another is not to advise, but to stay silent so as not to deepen their pain. When we speak less, we hear more. Others, ourselves, and the echoes of compassion. Someone once asked, "If I stay silent, will people understand me?" The Buddha taught, "It is not necessary for others to understand you. It is enough that you understand yourself. For when you understand, you no longer need to prove. When you are at peace, your presence becomes the most beautiful language." A story in the scriptures tells of a monk who came to the Buddha, complaining that others often misunderstood him. The Buddha asked, "Do you speak truthfully?" "Yes." "Do you speak in a way that harms anyone?" "No." "Do you speak at the right time?" "Yes." The Buddha smiled. "Then you need not fear being misunderstood. How others see you is their matter. Your task is to keep your mind and speech pure. To do so is to guard the right karma of speech, not letting words turn into poisonous wind. Every time we speak in anger, we are the first to burn. Every time we speak with compassion, that energy returns to us as peace. In life, there are times to speak and times to stay silent. Speak when the heart is clear, stay silent when the heart is stirred. Speak to share, to connect, not to prove. Each word should be like a blooming lotus, fragrant, gentle, and soothing to the listener. A friend once shared that when he was young, he spoke harshly and often hurt others. Later, he practiced pausing for 3 seconds before speaking, just 3 seconds, yet enough to choose kinder words. Gradually, his relationships changed. People feared him less, and he himself felt calmer. He said, "I didn't just change my words, I changed my heart." Cultivating speech is not easy, for words arise faster than thought when the mind stirs. But if each day we practice awareness, speaking less, breathing before speaking, we will witness miracles. When speech becomes pure, life becomes clearer. Remember, every word creates a ripple of energy. It travels outward, touches others, then returns to us. So before speaking, ask yourself, will this word cause pain? Will it bring peace? If not, hold it back, for silence too is an act of compassion. In the next part, we will explore the power of compassion in silence. When love and understanding become the foundation that helps us not only keep our own peace, but spread it to all around. For words can create karma, but compassionate words can dissolve it. And when we learn to speak with mindfulness and be silent with awareness, every sound, every breath becomes a path back to peace. When people think of silence, they often think of the absence of sound. But in Buddhism, true silence is not just outer quiet. It is the state of mind that no longer resists, no longer needs to oppose or win. And in that still space, compassion can fully bloom. Compassion is not pity, but the ability to see another's suffering and wish for it to ease. When our heart is filled with anger and prejudice, we cannot truly love. Only when we are silent enough to hear both our own pain and that of others does compassion find room to grow. Just as a seed cannot sprout in a storm, compassion can only blossom in the calm of the heart. A Zen master once said, "Silence is the home of compassion." When we are silent, we are no longer swept away by the noise of judgment. Then we can look at others with eyes of understanding. We see that everyone suffers in their own way. One who speaks harshly is someone deeply wounded inside. One who gets angry is not strong, but fragile before their own emotions. And when we see this, anger disappears. Only compassion remains. There is a story of a young monk who was wrongly scolded by the villagers due to misunderstanding. At first, he felt sad, but later he chose silence. He did not explain, just continued his good deeds as usual. After some time, the truth came to light and the villagers came to apologize. The monk smiled and said, "It's all right. You scolded me because you thought I was bad, not because you meant harm. I wasn't angry because I understand everyone lives within the limits of their own perception. That silence itself was the expression of compassion. True compassion is not merely speaking kindly, but keeping the heart peaceful amid injustice. Compassion in silence also dissolves conflict. When someone offends us and we react, the fire rises. But if we remain silent, not out of endurance, but out of understanding, that fire will fade. Like a stone thrown into a deep lake, it sinks without muddying the water. In life, there are times when words cannot heal. Only the silent presence of love can. A suffering person doesn't need explanation, only a look without judgment. A lost soul doesn't need reasoning, only to feel that someone still believes in them. And sometimes that faith is conveyed through gentle silence. One who truly has compassion does not rush to correct others. They know everything takes time. They do not interfere with the unfolding of karma. They simply plant good seeds and trust in the natural growth of every soul. Silence, in this sense, is not withdrawal, but giving others space to awaken on their own. Someone once said, "Compassion without wisdom leads to hurt. Wisdom without compassion leads to coldness." Therefore, the silence of a practitioner is not a closing of the heart, but an opening. When wisdom and compassion meet, we know when to speak, when to pause, when to act, and when to simply sit still. A simple yet profound practice is this: whenever you meet someone who irritates you, silently bless them. No need to speak, just hold the thought, "May you be at peace." That energy returns to soften your own heart, melting anger away. For one cannot both hold resentment and wish happiness for another. When the blessing is sincere, you are the first to be freed. Someone once asked, "If I forgive, will I be seen as weak?" The Buddha replied, "Forgiveness is not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace." That is the power of compassion. It needs no words, no proof. Only a heart calm enough not to retaliate, bright enough not to hate, and deep enough to see that all things arise from causes and conditions. Compassion in silence is a kind of light. It does not dazzle, but it warms. It makes no sound, yet soothes the heart. And when we live in that energy, others naturally feel it too. For peace cannot be explained. It can only be shared. In the next part, we will explore the art of letting go, when holding nothing back is also a kind of peace, where we learn to release the burdens within, allowing silence to become the doorway to freedom. For compassion lies not only in words or actions, but in the ability to let go at the right time, so we may live peacefully not only for ourselves, but for the world around us. Letting go is one of life's hardest lessons. We are taught to hold on, to strive, to fight, but rarely to relax and release. So the more we grow, the more we feel tired. Not because life is too heavy, but because we keep carrying what should have been put down long ago. Letting go is not giving up. Giving up is an act of despair. Letting go is an act of understanding. When we realize that all things are impermanent, emotions, people, possessions, success, or failure, all will change, then we naturally stop clinging. Letting go is not loss, but seeing that nothing truly belongs to us. The Buddha taught that the root of all suffering is attachment, clinging to what we love and resisting what we dislike. When we love, we want to keep. When we hate, we want to push away. Both are attachments that bind us. The one who knows how to let go is free from all bondage, even to the good. Someone once asked, "If I let go of everything, will I have anything left?" The Buddha smiled. When you let go of all, you gain all. It sounds paradoxical, yet deeply true. When we release, the mind opens wide. When the mind opens, the inner world becomes vast. Then we no longer live in scarcity, for there is nothing to lose. In daily life, there are countless things we cannot control. others' thoughts, their actions, past events. But we can control our attitude. Letting go means stopping there, ceasing to grasp what was never ours to control. A story tells of two monks crossing a river. A woman stood on the bank, afraid to wade through. One monk carried her across, set her down, and continued walking. His companion, however, stayed upset the whole way. Finally, he burst out, "We are monks! How could you carry a woman like that?" The first monk smiled gently. "Brother, I set her down at the riverbank. Why are you still carrying her?" That story mirrors our clinging mind. Often we don't carry heavy things, but heavy thoughts. Resentment, pride, regret. Those weigh us down more than any load. Letting go is not forgetting, but releasing the past from our heart. It is seeing, understanding, and smiling as we move on. Letting go is also a form of silence. When we stop arguing with the past, stop comparing in the present, the mind becomes still. When we stop wanting to fix others, change circumstances, or prove ourselves, we return to who we are, and only then does peace truly arise. Many fear letting go, thinking it means loss. But in truth, letting go is the condition for gaining anew. When we release anger, we gain lightness. When we release worry, we gain ease. When we release pain, we gain gratitude. Each act of release expands the space for happiness to enter. Letting go requires no force, only awareness. For when we clearly see the nature of all things, that nothing is permanent, that all is interdependent, we naturally let go. Let go like flowers falling when their season ends, like golden leaves drifting from the branch without regret, knowing that it is simply the law of nature, a simple way to practice letting go. Each night before sleep, ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that keeps me uneasy today? Then breathe deeply, slowly exhale, and softly say, I release this. It might be a hurtful word, an unfinished wish, or a worry for tomorrow. Every exhale is an act of release. Bit by bit, you will learn to let your heart become light again. In today's world, where everyone is busy competing and chasing results, letting go is the bravest act. Only the strong dare to stop. Only the wise know that nothing is real except the mind itself. And only the compassionate can be generous enough not to hold on to anything for themselves. When we let go, we are no longer wounded by others' words, nor troubled by whether we are understood. We no longer need to win, for we have already conquered our restless hearts. In the next part, we will explore freedom within. When needing nothing, you feel complete. To understand that freedom doesn't come from what we have, but from what no longer controls us. For letting go is the key that opens the door to freedom. And true freedom does not come from mastering the world, but from mastering the mind. Freedom does not lie in where we go, but in how we live in the present. Some travel far, yet their hearts remain bound. Others stay within a small corner of life, yet their minds are vast as the sky. True freedom is not doing whatever we want, but not being bound by those wants. The Buddha taught that a free person is one no longer led by greed, anger, or delusion, the three fires that invisibly bind us. As long as our hearts crave possession, burn with rage, or wander in ignorance, we remain prisoners, no matter how high our status. But when the mind is peaceful, even sitting beneath a tree, we feel like the king of our own world. In modern society, many mistake freedom for saying whatever we want, living however we like, buying, going, owning as we please. But ask yourself, are we truly free when one person's word can disturb us? When an unanswered message makes us anxious? When numbers, fame, or others' opinions can shake our peace? If just one external thing can rob us of serenity, then that freedom is only an illusion. A truly free person can stand amid the current of life without being swept away. They need not flee the world, nor seek a quiet place. They are at ease in the market, in the noise, in work, in daily friction, because they know every place is a temple when the heart is still. A Zen master once said, "Freedom is when the mind no longer chases or avoids anything. When we see beauty, we enjoy it without clinging. When we see pain, we acknowledge it without resistance. When praised, we smile. When criticized, we still smile." That is freedom. Freedom is not a condition of circumstance, but a quality of mind. One person may be in prison yet remain at peace. Another may live in a palace yet feel suffocated. The Buddha said, "There is no prison more fearful than the prison of the mind." And the key that opens its door is awareness. When we see that all things arise and pass, come, go, form, dissolve, nothing can bind us anymore. Once, a layman asked a Zen master, "Master, how can I free myself from the control of thoughts and emotions?" The master smiled. "You don't need to escape them, you only need to recognize them." He continued, "Thoughts are like clouds. You cannot stop them from passing, but you can choose not to follow them. When you know you are thinking, that is the moment you are no longer controlled by thought." Freedom is like that, not eliminating emotions, but seeing them with wisdom. When angry, know you are angry. When sad, know you are sad. When greedy, know you are greedy. In that light of awareness, the chains of ignorance loosen. A simple practice to nurture freedom is meditation in action. When walking, know you are walking. When eating, know you are eating. When speaking, know you are speaking. When listening, know you are listening. Each moment of full presence is a step out of the prison of the mind. Step by step, you become truly free. When the mind is free, we no longer feel compelled to prove, argue, or be right. We no longer need to change the world to find peace, because we already carry peace within. Then everything becomes easier. Failure does not crush us. Success does not make us proud. Praise does not lift us too high. Blame does not pull us too low. The mind becomes steady like a still lake, reflecting everything without being disturbed. Freedom, too, is a form of silence. When the heart no longer resists reality, it naturally grows still. This silence is not cold or detached, but vibrant and alive. A silence filled with understanding, love, and wisdom. It is a silence that radiates peace without a single word. And then we realize, happiness does not come from how much we gain, but from how much we release. Less anger, less fear, less struggle, less desire. Each letting go brings us closer to freedom. In the next part, we will explore keeping the lamp of wisdom amid life's winds, to understand that in a world full of change, mindfulness is the light that guides us through the darkness of suffering. For freedom does not come from seeing farther, but from seeing clearly. And once we truly see, there is no more need to seek peace, for peace has always been within us. Wisdom is the lamp that lights the path through the darkness of ignorance. Without wisdom, we easily lose ourselves in fleeting emotions, endless desires, and illusions of right and wrong, gain and loss. But in this ever-changing world, how do we keep that lamp burning bright, untouched by the winds of life? The Buddha once taught, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Wisdom is the ability to see truth through the mist of emotion and false perception. It does not come from books or learning, but from direct experience, reflection, and awareness in each moment of life. Some believe that wisdom is something lofty, reserved only for the enlightened. But in truth, wisdom begins with the smallest things, knowing when to speak and when to be silent, knowing what to hold and what to release, knowing that every emotion has a beginning and will also have an end. When we understand this, we are no longer swept away by the tides of life. Wisdom is not cold detachment, but clarity within love. A wise person neither avoids life nor resists it. They live within the flow, yet are not carried away by it. Like a swimmer in the river, they do not fear the water, for they know how to move with it while remaining in control. Keeping the lamp of wisdom burning amid life's winds is not easy, for the winds vary. The winds of temptation, success, failure, praise, and blame. Each time the mind clings to something, the lamp flickers. Some lose their peace over a single word. Some lose clarity over a moment of gain or loss. But if we can return to our breath, observing ourselves, no wind can extinguish the light within. A story tells of a disciple who asked his master, "Master, how can I keep my heart calm amid life's turmoil?" The master replied, "When the wind rises, be the mountain. The wind can touch the surface, but it cannot shake the roots." The disciple asked, "But what if I am not yet a mountain?" The master smiled. "Then be the earth, where the mountain is born." Keeping wisdom is like holding the mountain within. Even if the surface trembles, the depths remain still. When the heart is deep enough, the winds of life become only sound, not storms. In our times, people are easily swept away by the pace of information, emotion, and comparison. Each day we absorb hundreds of opinions, thousands of images, and countless distractions. Without wisdom as our guiding lamp, we drift in the winds of ignorance without even noticing. Wisdom helps us pause, reflect, and choose a direction amid the crossroads of illusion. Wisdom does not come from memorization, but from silent experience. When we sit quietly and observe an emotion arising and fading, we are learning impermanence. When we face someone who hurts us but choose understanding over anger, we are learning about karma and conditions. When we fail yet remain calm, we are learning to let go. Each of these moments, however small, lights a flame of wisdom within. To keep wisdom alive, we need three things: right mindfulness, right concentration, and right view. Right mindfulness keeps us aware in the present, not lost in past or future. Right concentration keeps our mind steady amid emotional waves. Right view helps us see the nature of all phenomena, that nothing is fixed and everything changes. When these three come together, the lamp of wisdom shines bright and enduring. Observe yourself. When your heart is restless, what do you usually do? You search for something to cling to, a person, a belief, a plan. But the more you cling, the more you fear losing. When the mind is clear, you simply smile, knowing that all things come and go with conditions. Wisdom is not knowing more, it is worrying less. Someone once asked, "How can I know if my wisdom is growing?" The answer was simple. When you find yourself angry or less, loving more, reacting slower, and understanding deeper, your wisdom is growing. As wisdom blossoms, compassion grows with it. For we no longer see people as right or wrong, but as beings shaped by causes and conditions. We no longer judge, but begin to understand. And when we understand, we cannot help but love. Keeping the lamp of wisdom amid life's winds means knowing how to return to the breath, to awareness, to love. No matter how strong the outer winds, a single mindful breath keeps the inner lamp burning. In the next part, we will go deeper into happiness is knowing enough, where we learn to see life not through what is missing, but through what already is. For wisdom allows us to see clearly, and when we see clearly, we realize happiness was never far away. It has always been here, in this breath, in this moment, when the mind stops seeking and begins to rest. People often search for happiness as if for something lost. They believe it lies ahead, in a better job, a bigger house, an ideal partner, or enough money to stop worrying. But the more they chase, the more exhausted they become, for that path has no end. Each time they reach one goal, another appears, promising happiness yet again. The Buddha taught, "One who knows contentment is the richest person." The words seem simple, yet they contain a treasure of wisdom. Contentment is not resignation, but understanding the nature of desire. When we see that nothing can satisfy us forever, we stop seeking outward and begin returning inward. A person may have very little, but if their heart feels no lack, they are at peace. Conversely, one who has much but always wants more is still poor. The poverty of the mind, the poverty of never feeling enough, is the deepest kind. Happiness is not something we must strive to attain. It is already within us, merely obscured by layers of craving, fear, and comparison. When we pause and release the urge for more, happiness naturally appears, like the moon, never gone, just hidden by clouds. When the clouds part, the moon shines. When the heart is still, happiness is there. A story tells of a wealthy merchant who visited the Buddha, lamenting that despite his wealth, he was unhappy. The Buddha asked, "How many meals do you eat each day?" "3, Blessed One." "Do you sleep well?" "Not really. I often worry about my possessions." The Buddha smiled. "A farmer eats 2 meals and sleeps peacefully. You eat 3 and lose sleep. Tell me, who is richer?" "The one who knows enough, needs little but feels complete. They drink a cup of tea and taste the essence of the earth. They sit with loved ones and feel peace in their hearts. They work simply and still find joy in every breath. For they do not wait for happiness, they live in it." In modern life, comparison is one of the main reasons people lose their joy. Social media makes it easy for us to see others' lives and believe they are better than ours. But the Buddha taught comparison is the root of suffering, because when we compare, we forget the blessings we already have. Each person has their own path, their own karma, their own lessons. No 2 journeys are alike. When we understand this, we stop looking outward and begin to feel inward. Think about it. Every day we still have air to breathe, food to eat, a roof over our heads, loved ones to care for, legs to walk, eyes to see, time to learn, to listen, to breathe. Each of these small things, if we cherish them, becomes an endless source of happiness. Knowing enough doesn't mean giving up dreams. Those who know enough still live, still work, still contribute. But they act not from lack, but from joy. They don't chase results. They enjoy each step of the journey. They act from love, not from pressure to prove. A Zen master once taught, "Knowing enough doesn't mean not moving forward, but moving forward in peace." When we are not driven by greed, we work with lightness. When we act not from fear of lack, but from a wish to share, we are already free. Contentment is a form of wisdom. Those who know enough see clearly that everything is impermanent. What comes will go, what remains will fade. So they cling to nothing and fear no loss. They live each day fully without the burden of must upon their shoulders. Every day that comes, they welcome as a gift. Every day that goes, they bid farewell with a smile. Someone once asked, "If I stop wanting, won't life become boring?" The answer is no, because when we are no longer ruled by desire, we begin truly living. When the mind no longer reaches outward to seek, we start to see the beauty in each moment. The song of birds in the morning, the warmth of sunlight, the fragrance of tea, the smile of a passerby. These simple things, when seen through the eyes of contentment, become miracles. A simple practice of contentment. Each morning upon waking, whisper to yourself, "Today I am still alive." That is enough. Just one thought of gratitude like that changes your entire day. Everything feels lighter because you no longer demand life to please you. When you know enough, you no longer need to possess, to compete, or to fear loss. Your mind becomes calm like a still lake, reflecting life exactly as it is. No more, no less. And in that stillness, happiness naturally appears, light as breath. In the next part, we will talk about peace amid impermanence. because no matter how content we are, life will always change. And only when we accept impermanence as the natural truth of all things can we smile even when the winds of life shift direction. For contentment is the foundation of peace, and acceptance of impermanence is the peak of happiness. Nothing in this world lasts forever. Everything is changing. Every breath, every cell, every relationship, every joy, every sorrow. That is the nature of impermanence. We may love something so deeply that we cannot bear to lose it, but whether we wish it or not, time moves on, and everything changes in its own way. To understand and accept this truth is to open the door to deep peace. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent, meaning all phenomena created by causes and conditions must change. Flowers bloom and wither, people are born and grow old, joy arises and fades, sorrow comes and passes. Yet it is because of impermanence that life has meaning. Without it, flowers would never bloom, people would never grow, and we would never have the chance to change. When we suffer, impermanence reminds us that pain will pass. When we are happy, impermanence reminds us to cherish the moment. When we experience loss, it reminds us that it is simply part of the natural flow. Impermanence is not to be feared, but to help us live deeper, more awake, and with more love. There is a story of a king who wished for a phrase that would keep him calm in every situation. He ordered his wise men to find one. After many days, they returned with a small plaque engraved with the words, "This too shall pass." When sad, the king looked at it and felt lighter. When joyful, he looked again and felt gratitude. From then on, he lived with more peace, knowing that all things, good or bad, are temporary. We suffer because we forget this. When joy comes, we want to keep it forever. When sorrow comes, we want to push it away. But both exhaust us. We don't need to hold on or to chase away. We just need to observe. When we observe, we see that all emotions and changes are like waves on the surface of water. They rise, fall, come, and go. Yet the deep water beneath remains still. When we learn to return to that stillness within ourselves, we no longer fear impermanence. In modern life, we witness impermanence every day. People change jobs, move homes, end relationships. Sometimes overnight, everything shifts. Amid all this, the only thing we can do is accept and adapt with awareness. Serenity is not in how much we control, but in how openly we receive what comes. Once a grieving man came to a Zen master and said, "Master, I am in deep sorrow because someone I love has passed away." The master replied, "When you look at a flower, you know it will wither. But does that stop you from loving it?" The man fell silent, tears in his eyes. Indeed, knowing the flower will fade does not make it less beautiful. It makes us love it more gently. Likewise, knowing life is impermanent does not make us despair. It makes us live more fully in each moment. When we understand impermanence, we grow less angry, less judgmental, less attached. The one who hurt us today may not be here tomorrow. The anger we hold today may become tomorrow's regret. When we see that all things are passing, we choose to love more than to hate, to smile rather than argue, to be at peace rather than to win. Someone once asked, "If everything is impermanent, why live at all?" The Buddha replied, "Because of impermanence you can change. Because of impermanence you can become better." If life were fixed, no one could correct their mistakes, no one could learn love, understanding, or letting go. Impermanence is the gift that allows us to renew ourselves each day. A small practice to live peacefully with impermanence is the meditation on impermanence. Whenever you see something, quietly remind yourself, this too will change. When you're happy, say to your heart, this feeling will also pass. When you're sad, repeat the same. With time, as you repeat this, your mind will stop clinging. Then, no matter what happens, your heart remains calm. Being at peace with impermanence doesn't mean indifference. It means knowing how to love without attachment, to live fully without being bound. You don't fear loss because you know nothing truly belongs to you. Nor do you fear change because you know only through change can life continue. And when you deeply understand this, you realize impermanence does not take away your peace. It leads you to it. For only when you stop fearing loss do you truly appreciate what you have. In the next part, we will explore letting go of control, living in harmony with conditions, to understand that when we stop forcing and allow things to unfold naturally, we not only suffer less but also discover true freedom in each breath. Impermanence is not something to fear. It is the music of life. And only when we listen to that melody with a peaceful heart does life become truly gentle. Human beings have a tendency to want control. Control over results, over others, over emotions, even over things that do not belong to them. We want everything to go as we wish, want people to behave as we expect, want life to follow the plans we've drawn. But life never follows any single person's will. The tighter we grip, the more tired we become. The more we try to control, the more we lose our freedom. The Buddha taught, all things arise and cease according to conditions. When we understand this truth, we stop resisting. We give our best, but we don't demand outcomes. We plant seeds without impatience for flowers. Living in harmony with conditions doesn't mean giving up, but acting without attachment, doing what needs to be done, yet not suffering when things don't go our way. A Zen story tells, a disciple once asked his master, "Master, I try to practice to let go, but the harder I try, the more exhausted I feel. How can I be free?" The master smiled, pointed to the disciple's clenched fist, and said, "Tighten it." The disciple did. The master continued, "Now, release it." When the hand opened, the master said, "Letting go doesn't require effort, only the stopping of grasping." That simple truth is the essence of living by conditions. We suffer not because of life itself, but because we keep holding tight to expectations, to plans, to people, to emotions, to gains. Letting go doesn't mean losing, but returning everything to its rightful place. What belongs to us will stay. What doesn't, its leaving, is natural. In reality, we cannot control the weather, the attitude of others, or the flow of life, but we can always control our response. When someone hurts us, we can choose forgiveness instead of revenge. When plans fail, we can choose calm reflection instead of complaint. When one door closes, we can smile, trusting that life is leading us where we need to go. Living by conditions means exerting effort without forcing, like a farmer who plants seeds. He tends the soil, waters, weeds, but cannot command the seed to sprout faster. He understands that sunshine and rain are also part of the conditions. So he does his part and then trusts the rest. In that understanding, the heart naturally softens. We still work, still live fully, but without fear, for we know that nothing is truly lost when we live rightly in this moment. When we live in harmony with conditions, everything that comes is welcomed with serenity, and everything that goes is released with a smile. A wise person doesn't try to control life, but flows with it. When water moves, they move with it. When wind blows, they fly along, for they know that what is meant to arrive will arrive, and what is not yet ripe will not bloom, no matter how much we push. The Buddha taught, when conditions are complete, the flower blooms. When conditions dissolve, the flower fades. No one can command a flower to stay forever, just as no one can hold someone who is ready to leave. Understanding this doesn't make us cold. It makes us live more deeply, love more wholly, because we see that nothing is permanent. Much of our suffering in life comes from two words, must and should. Things must go our way. People should understand us. Love should match our ideals. But when we replace must with allow, our hearts open. They are allowed to be themselves. Love is allowed to be what it is. Life is allowed to unfold as it should. When we stop imposing, we begin truly living. One way to practice living by conditions is to take a deep breath whenever something doesn't go as planned. Whisper to yourself, I accept this as part of life's flow. This isn't surrender. It is a declaration of wisdom. In that moment of acceptance, you are no longer a victim of circumstance, but the master of your own mind. Those who live in harmony with life have a quiet beauty. They don't try to prove, compete, or cling. They are light like a bird in the sky, flying when the wind rises, resting when it stills. They understand that what is meant to come will come. What is meant to go will go, and that in every breath, life is already enough. In the next part, we will listen to the lesson, Embracing the Present, the gift of being here, to see that only when we stop chasing the past and stop dreaming of the future do we truly live, and feel the beauty of this very moment where all peace begins. For when we stop controlling, life doesn't become chaotic. It becomes natural. And in that naturalness, we see that everything is unfolding just as it should. Perhaps one of the strangest things about human beings is that we are rarely in the same place as ourselves. The body is here, but the mind is elsewhere, in the past or rushing to the future. We live within time, but rarely within this moment. And because of that, we often miss happiness, even as it is happening. The Buddha taught, do not chase the past. Do not dream of the future. Dwell peacefully in the present. The past is only memory. The future only imagination. Only the present is real. Yet we spend most of our time regretting what's gone or fearing what's to come. Pulled between these two directions, our peace disappears. When we live in the present moment, everything becomes clear. A cup of tea is no longer just a cup of tea. It is fragrance, warmth, and a chance to pause and realize we are alive. A breath is no longer just a breath. It is the continuation of life unfolding within this very body. When we are truly present, everything becomes alive, and we no longer need to search for happiness elsewhere. A story tells that a Zen master and his student were walking through a forest. The student asked, "Master, what is the secret of happiness?" The master replied, "I am walking." The student said, "I am walking too." The master smiled, "No, you are thinking about where you are going. I am truly walking." That small difference marks the boundary between suffering and peace. Suffering arises when we want things to be different. Peace arises when we see that things are already enough. When we are truly in the present, there is nowhere else to go, nothing to achieve. Only life breathing with us. But to be present, we must learn to return to the breath. The breath is the bridge that brings us home when we are lost. Each time the mind wanders, just breathe deeply and slowly. You will find yourself here again. When we breathe consciously, the mind naturally stops. And when the mind stops, we see that everything has always been unfolding perfectly without our worry or control. In modern life, we are easily swept into the current of work, information, and devices. We are always busy with phones, emails, and thoughts. Yet this busyness makes us lose what is most precious: full presence. A rushed meal, a distracted conversation, a family moment where the mind is elsewhere, all slowly distance us from ourselves. When we are truly present, even the smallest acts become meditation. Washing dishes mindfully is not just cleaning dishes, but caring for each movement. Listening without judgment is listening with compassion. Working with awareness is not just completing a task, but living deeply with each moment of effort. Every act done with full presence becomes a form of practice. Living in the present doesn't mean neglecting the future. It is the foundation for preparing wisely for it. When we are anchored in the present, we act not from fear or anxiety, but from understanding and love. We don't react, we respond. We are not dragged along. We consciously choose our direction. A small practice. Each day, choose a moment to pause. While drinking tea, walking, or listening to the rain, let go of all thoughts and simply feel the moment with all your senses. If the mind drifts away, smile and gently bring it back. Gradually, you will see that peace is not a luxury, but the natural state of a mind that no longer wanders. Someone once asked, "If I live in the present, will I lose motivation to move forward?" The Buddha said, "When you are truly in the present, you do everything with full energy and wisdom. You don't need motivation. You are life itself in motion." To live in the present is to live authentically, not following the past, not chasing the future, not wearing masks to please anyone. When we stop and truly dwell with ourselves, we begin to see with new eyes. Each leaf, each breeze, each ray of sunlight brimming with life. When we are truly present, we begin to see the nature of both suffering and happiness. We understand that happiness does not come from avoiding pain, but from the ability to look at pain with awareness. We don't need to escape. We only need to be present, because when we are present, we are already healing ourselves. In the next part, we will explore living with an ordinary mind, the path within everyday life. To understand that enlightenment is not a distant place or mystical state, but simply how we live each day. Simple, sincere, and complete in every small act. For the present moment is the doorway to awakening, and when we open that door with full presence, we not only find peace, we find ourselves. Many people believe that spiritual practice or enlightenment is far away, reserved for those who withdraw from the world, hiding in mountains or leaving society behind. But the Buddha never taught us to run away from life. He taught us to live within it without being swept away, to live with a calm, clear, and ordinary mind amidst all complexity. The Zen master Zhaozhou once said, "An ordinary mind is the way." When asked, "What is an ordinary mind?" he replied, "A mind without fabrication, without grasping, without attachment. That is the ordinary mind." It sounds simple, yet living with such a mind is the deepest art of living. An ordinary mind means, when eating, just eat. When walking, just walk. When working, just work. Not dwelling on the past, not worrying about the future, not letting the noise outside stir your inner stillness. When the heart no longer sways with praise or blame, gain or loss, right or wrong, then you are living in the way. The way is not far away. It is in how you drink water, how you speak, how you look at others with understanding. It exists in how you wash dishes, sweep the floor, or sit quietly breathing deeply. Every ordinary act done with mindfulness is meditation. And within these simple moments, we touch the profound truth of the way, the awareness in every living moment. A meditation student once asked his master, "Master, I have practiced meditation for 10 years, yet I still haven't seen the way." The master smiled. "Do you see the sun every morning?" "Yes, I do." "Do you hear the birds singing each day?" "Yes, I do." "Then the way is there. You just haven't truly seen it." The way is not a place to arrive at, but a way of seeing everything as it is. When the mind is still, ordinary life becomes miraculous. When we pause long enough to truly feel, even the sound of rain, the whisper of wind, or the morning sunlight becomes the Dharma itself. An ordinary mind is a mind that does not resist. When someone speaks harshly, we don't need to reply. When something comes, we act. When it goes, we release. not because we are indifferent, but because we understand that everything has its causes, its timing, and its place within the law of dependent arising. When we accept this, we are no longer controlled by emotion. Those with an ordinary mind do not need to appear special. They live simply, yet radiate a calm that others can feel. They can remain silent in a crowd, smile when misunderstood, and stay composed amid turbulence because they know that nothing is worth losing their inner peace. Once a student asked a Zen master, "Master, what will you do once you attain the way?" The master replied, "I will cook rice, sweep the floor, pick vegetables, and water the plants." "But aren't those the same things I already do?" "Yes," said the master, "but the difference is this. Before you did them in ignorance. After seeing the way, you will do them in awareness." Just one shift from ignorance to awareness, and the whole world changes. The same bowl of rice, but when eaten mindfully, carries the flavor of earth and sky. The same work, but done with a peaceful mind, brings no fatigue. When the mind is calm, the world becomes calm. Living with an ordinary mind doesn't mean indifference or resignation. It means living wholeheartedly without letting the heart be disturbed. Working diligently without being wounded by success or failure. Loving someone without trying to possess them. Helping others without needing recognition. An ordinary mind lives naturally, without forcing, without pretending, without opposing itself. A person with an ordinary mind carries a gentle presence. They don't need to preach Dharma, for the way they live is already Dharma. They walk slowly, speak softly, look deeply. Each action carries mindfulness. Those around them feel warmth without knowing why. That is the energy of an ordinary mind. In a noisy age, one who can keep an ordinary mind is truly rare. Amid thousands of voices, they choose silence. Amid countless changes, they choose stillness. They neither rush nor fear delay, knowing that everything unfolds in its own rhythm. An ordinary mind is also a non-judging mind. It does not divide people into high or low, better or worse. It looks upon the poor with respect and the rich with compassion, knowing that everyone walks their own path to learn their own lessons. When we no longer need to be better than anyone, our heart becomes clear and light. A simple practice, whatever you do, silently remind yourself just this. When washing dishes, just wash dishes. When eating, just eat. When listening, just listen. Don't let the mind wander. When you can do this, you will feel a profound lightness, because in those small acts, you are already living the way, already living with an ordinary mind. In the next part, we will explore silence amid the crowd, peace in the whirl of life, where we learn to keep inner stillness even when the world outside is loud. To realize that peace is not the absence of noise, but the state in which noise no longer reaches the heart. For the way is not found on mountaintops or in secluded temples. It is right here, in the way we live each day, with an ordinary mind. In a world filled with voices, information, arguments, and constant pushing and pulling, keeping a quiet space within is not easy. Each day we encounter hundreds of sounds, images, temptations, and unseen pressures. Yet in all that noise, silence becomes a form of strength, a power that helps us stand firm amid the storm without losing ourselves. Silence amid the crowd is not about avoiding people, nor about retreating into loneliness. It is the ability to remain peaceful within, even when the world outside is in chaos. It is when you can listen to everything that is happening without being carried away by it. When you see life through the eyes of understanding rather than reaction. The Buddha once said, "Amid the crowd, the awakened one remains alone." He did not mean isolation, but a noble solitude, being alone because one is not swept away by the masses, because the noise outside no longer drowns out the voice within. Those who know silence amid the crowd have the gift of observing without judging, of being present without dissolving, of acting without making noise. Imagine yourself standing in a bustling marketplace, voices bargaining, cars passing, laughter echoing, yet within you the mind remains as calm as a still lake. All the sounds continue, but they no longer disturb you. You keep walking, smiling, feeling life unfolding in each moment. That is true silence, not the absence of sound, but the state where sound no longer reaches the depths of your heart. When the mind is restless, a single word can steal your sleep. But when the mind is still, the whole world can shout, and you remain serene. The difference is not in circumstance, but in the depth of stillness within. This silence is not muteness, it is full presence, where everything is heard, but nothing shakes you. A Zen master once said, "To remain unmoved in the marketplace, that is meditation." Practicing silence amid the crowd is meditation in daily life. When someone offends you, you don't have to react immediately. When others praise you, you don't need to be overly delighted. When the world changes, you simply breathe, observe, and know, like one sitting by a river, watching the flow without jumping in. The ancients said, "From stillness, wisdom arises." Wisdom blooms only when the mind is calm enough. In that calmness, you see clearly that nothing is truly worth anger or worry. Everything simply comes and goes like clouds drifting through the sky. When you understand this, you no longer fear loss nor cling to gain. Peace becomes as natural as breathing. Silence amid the crowd also deepens your ability to listen. You begin to hear what you once missed: the sincere laughter of a friend, the rustle of leaves, even the quiet voice of your own heart. Because when you are silent, you no longer listen with your ears, but with your whole being. A simple practice. When in a noisy place, instead of resisting, close your eyes for a few seconds and listen to all the sounds as if they were a symphony of life. Do not label them as pleasant or unpleasant, just listen. You will discover that noise itself is not suffering. Only resistance to noise is. When you stop resisting, peace appears, even in the middle of noise. Someone once said, "I can't meditate, my house is too noisy." But meditation is not turning off sound. It is turning off resistance in the mind. When you no longer need absolute quiet to feel calm, then you have truly understood silence. The one who keeps silence amid the crowd has found a solid refuge within. They need no special place, no elaborate ritual, only the breath. For the breath itself is the anchor of stillness. Wherever you are, returning to the breath brings you home to peace. A calm heart naturally radiates tranquility. Others feel it, as one feels a cool breeze on a warm day. Silence not only brings peace to you, but also soothes those around you. When you neither fight, nor argue, nor compete, you become a gentle pause in someone else's life. In the next part, we will explore practice in daily life, bringing meditation into every moment, to understand that meditation is not only about sitting still with eyes closed, but about how we walk, speak, work, and love with mindfulness, so that silence becomes the natural rhythm of every breath. For true peace does not lie in isolation, but in the ability to keep the heart still amid all movements of life. Many believe meditation is for those with time, monks in temples or people resting in the mountains. Yet the Buddha never taught that meditation must be separate from life. On the contrary, he taught that every moment of life can be meditation, if we are truly present. Meditation is not an act of sitting still, but a state of awareness. When the mind knows what it is doing, thinking and feeling, that is meditation. The one who cooks mindfully is meditating. The one who sweeps the yard with ease is meditating. The one who speaks truthfully and listens with compassion is meditating. Meditation is not in form, but in attitude. The Buddha said, "If you walk in mindfulness, each step touches nirvana. meaning happiness is not far away. It is in every step, every breath, every simple act. When we slow down to truly see and know, every small thing becomes a miracle. A mother washing dishes in haste feels tired, but if she washes mindfully, feeling the cool water, hearing it flow, watching the stains disappear, then dishwashing is no longer a chore, but a meditation. Likewise, when we eat with awareness, each bite becomes sweeter. When we listen with awareness, others' words become clearer. And when we live with awareness, each moment becomes precious beyond measure. Bringing meditation into life is not doing something new. It is doing what we already do, but with a different consciousness. To act with calm instead of haste. To listen with understanding instead of judgment. To speak with awareness instead of reaction. Each moment we recognize we are alive, we are meditating. Someone might say, "I'm too busy to meditate." But meditation is exactly how we stop being swept away by busyness. It is the pause that lets us breathe in the middle of the storm. It doesn't need hours, just a few seconds to stop, breathe, and remember that we are alive. Those moments keep us balanced amid life's pressure. A small practice when walking: don't let the mind run to your destination. Feel your feet touch the earth. Feel your body moving. Feel the breath coming and going. When drinking water, don't think about work. Just know, I am drinking water. I am nourishing this body. Gradually, the mind will wander less, and the present moment will become your true home. Not a temporary stop, but the very place where life is fully lived. When we live in meditation, work is no longer a burden, because when the mind is truly present, every task becomes meaningful. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "When washing the dishes, just wash the dishes. Don't wash the dishes to have them done. For if we wash the dishes just to finish, we live in haste. And if we always hurry, life becomes nothing more than a series of waiting. Waiting for one thing to end so the next can begin, until one day we realize we have missed the entire journey of living." Meditation in daily life also helps us face difficulties more gently. When the mind is awake, we see our emotions clearly without being ruled by them. When encountering someone difficult, we notice anger arising, but we don't let it take over. When sadness comes, we recognize it without being drowned in it. We don't need to suppress our emotions, just to acknowledge them and smile. That alone begins the healing of the heart. Meditation doesn't take us away from life. It helps us see life as it truly is. To see that success and failure are only waves. To see that everyone, including ourselves, is learning how to love, to understand, to grow. When we look at everything through the light of meditation, we stop blaming, stop fearing, stop running away. We simply live and love fully. A sign that someone is truly living in meditation is their gentleness. They no longer speak much about meditation, yet every action radiates its energy. They work slowly but effectively, speak little but deeply, smile softly but warmly. Their presence brings peace to others, because they themselves have become the embodiment of meditation in life. If you cannot yet sit for long meditation sessions, that's okay. Begin with the smallest moments. Take a deep breath before replying to someone. Smile at a harsh word, or look closely at a flower on the street. Each time you do, you take one more step on the path of mindfulness. Meditation is not far away. It is right here, whenever we are truly present in our lives. And when we bring mindfulness into every task, every breath, every word, life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a gentle stream, a flow in which we learn to walk with awareness and to love with understanding. In the next part, we will explore calm amid adversity, when hardship becomes part of the path, to see that life's challenges are not here to defeat us, but to awaken wisdom, deepen compassion, and help us grow on the journey toward peace. For meditation is not only about sitting still in silence, it is about sitting firmly in the midst of the storm. In this life, no one can avoid adversity. There will be days when we are misunderstood, betrayed, or hurt. Times when everything seems close to success, but suddenly collapses. People we love may leave without a word. In those moments, the heart trembles, the mind feels lost. Yet it is precisely then that adversity becomes a great teacher, an opportunity to practice calmness and to understand ourselves more deeply. The Buddha said, "There is no path to peace. Peace itself is the path." When we learn to stay calm amid adversity, suffering can no longer lead us. Every storm in life is like a wave. If we resist it, we drown. If we let go and observe, we float through gently. When hardship strikes, the first thing to do is not to resist or complain, but to stop and breathe. Just one slow, deep breath creates space for the mind to rest. Like someone lost in the forest, if they keep running in panic, they only get more lost. But if they stop, observe, and listen, the way out gradually appears. Adversity doesn't come to punish us. It comes to teach us lessons we refused to learn when life was easy. When all goes well, we tend to drift, forgetting the impermanence of existence. But when pain knocks on our door, we rediscover what truly matters. That is when inner stillness begins to awaken. A man who once lost all his wealth in a disaster shared that at first he felt utterly broken. All his plans and dreams vanished overnight. But when he had nothing left, he sat down, took a deep breath, and realized, "I still have my breath. I still have my life." From then on, he started again, slowly, calmly, without fear. Years later, he said that losing everything was the greatest gift, because it taught him the art of staying calm amid suffering. Calmness does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means facing reality as it is, acknowledging that pain is present, yet not letting it rule you. It means knowing you are sad, angry, or disappointed, but not letting those feelings dictate your words or actions. Those who are calm do not hide their pain. They simply don't let pain steer them. They look deeply into anger and see the fear behind it. They look into hurt and find the longing to be loved. When they see clearly, the heart softens and compassion blooms. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught, like a mountain unmoved by the storm, the practitioner remains steady amid praise and blame, gain and loss, honor and disgrace. This does not mean becoming numb, but understanding the impermanence of all things, so the mind no longer wavers with the changing winds. A truly mature person is not one who never falls, but one who stands up again, with a peaceful smile. When the heart is firm, life's storms become only small waves on the path of understanding and release. We don't have to wait for suffering to practice calmness. Begin with the small moments of daily life. When someone says something unpleasant, breathe deeply. When work doesn't go as planned, pause for a few seconds and recognize your feelings. When someone disappoints you, try to see from their side. Each such moment plants a seed of peace. Adversity is the test of patience. Those who pass it with stillness emerge stronger and wiser, for nothing refines the mind like hardship. Without darkness, we would never see light. Without suffering, we would never know peace. A Zen master once said, "The lotus blooms only in the mud." Likewise, wisdom and compassion bloom only in adversity. When we dare to sit still amid pain, not running, not blaming, not struggling, that is when transformation begins. If you are going through a difficult time today, remember, suffering does not come to destroy you, but to help you discover the strength within. The storm will pass, the rain will stop, and what remains is not the wound, but understanding and gratitude. In the next part, we will enter the topic letting go when happiness comes from not holding on. to learn how to release gently the things that weigh down our hearts, because sometimes the path to peace is not in seeking more, but in knowing what to release. For only when the mind lets go can we truly be free in this bound and restless life. There are things that tire us not because they are too heavy, but because we refuse to let them go. We cling tightly to a broken relationship, a fading memory, a careless word, an unfinished dream, and then wonder why we are not at peace. But the more we hold on, the more we suffer, because the nature of life is impermanence, yet we try to grasp what cannot be kept. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering lies in attachment, clinging to what we want and rejecting what we don't. When we want happiness to stay the same, we fear change. When we fear loss, anxiety begins. And when things do not go our way, we suffer. The suffering does not come from the situation, but from our refusal to accept impermanence. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility or love. It means releasing control, releasing the ego that insists everything must follow its will. It is allowing things to be as they are. It is loving without possessing, acting without demanding results, giving without expecting return. A man once shared that for years he resented someone who had betrayed him. Every time he thought of that person, anger burned inside. One day he asked a Zen master, "How can I forget them?" The master replied, "You don't need to forget, just let go of the wish to take revenge. Because holding hatred is like gripping a hot coal to throw at someone else. The one burned first is always yourself." When we let go, we don't lose. We gain freedom. When we release resentment, the heart becomes light. When we let go of expectations, we suffer less disappointment. When we release the ego, the world becomes gentler. Each time we let go of something, we take another step on the path of awakening. Letting go is a journey of wisdom. Only when we truly understand impermanence can we release. We cannot force ourselves to let go. We can only see clearly that there is nothing to hold. Everything in life is changing. This body, these emotions, the people we love, the work we do, even the beliefs we hold. When we look deeply, we see that nothing really belongs to us. And in that seeing, the heart relaxes. One afternoon, someone asked an old monk, "Master, how can I learn to let go?" The master smiled, lifted a cup of water and said, "Do you see this cup? If you hold it for a minute, it's fine. Hold it for an hour, your arm aches. Hold it all day, it hurts. To ease the pain, you don't need to throw it away, just set it down." Letting go is like that. We don't need to forget, don't need to hate, just set it down. Set down a heavy thought, an old worry, a person who has passed through your life. Setting down is not losing, it is allowing the heart to rest. Letting go is not indifference. The indifferent close their hearts. Those who know how to let go open theirs. They still love, still care, still give their best, but they do not let love become a chain because they understand that true love does not bind. The practice of letting go can begin with the smallest things. When stuck in traffic, instead of irritation, smile and release impatience. When someone doesn't understand you, release the need to prove yourself. When plans fail, release the urge to control. Because with every release, you return freedom to yourself. Letting go is not an ending, it is a beginning. When we release the old, the new can come. When we let go of attachment to suffering, happiness has room to grow. Like a hand holding a stone, it cannot receive a gift until it opens. Just open your hand and peace will find you. If today you carry something you cannot yet release, sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. Ask yourself, if I let go, what do I lose? If I hold on, what do I gain? Then exhale slowly, imagining setting it down. You don't need to forget, just stop carrying it. One day you will see that letting go is not weakness, but the wisdom of one who understands life. When we no longer cling to what has passed, life becomes as light as a cloud. When the heart is no longer heavy, it can finally fly. In the next part, we will explore compassion when understanding becomes love, to see that after releasing resentment, what remains within us is love. A love that is unconditional, unselective, and healing, because in the end, the Buddha's path leads nowhere else but to compassion and letting go. Once we learn to let go, compassion naturally blossoms in the heart. When there is no longer hatred, when the mind no longer clings, the space within fills with understanding and love. Compassion does not arise from trying to love, but from deep understanding. When we truly understand someone, we no longer hate them, we only feel compassion. The Buddha taught, understanding is the foundation of love. Without understanding, love remains limited, easily turning into attachment, easily shifting with emotion. Only when we see the deep roots of another's suffering does the heart truly open. Then we no longer wish to punish or compete, but simply to help them suffer less. Someone once asked, "How can I love the person who hurt me?" The Buddha replied, "See that person as someone in pain. For only a wounded heart causes pain to others. When we understand this, enemies disappear. Only those in need of healing remain. And in that moment, compassion is born. Compassion is not weakness, it is the quietest strength. Only those with great inner power can love, without fear of being hurt, help without needing return, forgive without requiring apology. The compassion of one who understands life does not boast. It is silent, profound, and spreads like the scent of a lotus blooming in the mud, fragrant without needing to be seen. A story tells that when the Buddha and his disciples passed through a village, the villagers cursed and threw stones. One disciple, angry, said, "World-honored one, we should stay away from these people." The Buddha smiled and said, "If they had learned love, they would not act this way. Let us stay and plant the seeds of compassion." Hearing this, the disciples fell silent. They realized that only with compassion can one avoid being dragged down by another's anger. In today's world, we are quicker to react than to understand. A disagreeable word can spark our temper, a small mistake invites our judgment, a difference can make us turn away. But if we pause for a moment to listen, not with our ears, but with our hearts, we will see that everyone suffers in their own way. And when we see this, we no longer wish to push anyone away. The practice of compassion begins with loving oneself. When we learn to tend to our own pain with understanding and gentleness, we can then offer that same gentleness to others. Many people try to love, but because their hearts are full of wounds, their love becomes clumsy. Begin by embracing yourself, your mistakes, your shortcomings, your old scars. When you stop blaming yourself, you will stop blaming others. A simple practice: whenever you feel angry or upset with someone, close your eyes, take a deep breath and whisper, "May that person be at peace." If repeated sincerely, this small sentence will soften your heart. Compassion doesn't need grand gestures, just one kind thought is enough to shift the energy within. Compassion does not make us weak, it makes us stronger. When we truly love someone, we no longer fear losing them because our love is not rooted in possession. When we look at someone with understanding, we no longer need to win an argument because we see that nothing is worth winning or losing. A truly compassionate person does not only love the kind but also empathizes with the unkind. They understand that every being is a piece in the cycle of samsara, sometimes bright, sometimes shadowed. They neither look down on anyone nor bow before anyone. They simply smile, listen, and live with an open heart. In meditation, compassion is likened to the moonlight. It shines everywhere, yet never demands. The moon does not choose where to shine, whether pure or impure, high or low. Likewise, one with compassion does not choose where to love. They treat all beings with equal kindness, loving not because one is good, nor hating because one is bad. If one day you find it hard to love, remember, just understand a little more, and you will love a little more. Look deeper, and you will see that no one is born to cause pain. They simply have not yet learned how not to. When you see this, anger dissolves, hatred fades, and only love remains. In the next part, we will explore forgiveness, a gift to oneself. For when we know how to love, the next step is learning to forgive. Forgiveness is not because the other deserves it, but because we deserve peace. For compassion is the root, and forgiveness is the flower that blooms from it. Forgiveness is one of the hardest lessons, yet also the most liberating on the path to peace. Because forgiveness is not an act for others, it is a gift we give to ourselves, the gift of freedom and lightness after releasing the burden of resentment. Many think forgiveness means approval or tolerance of wrongdoing, but forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor allowing someone to continue hurting us. Forgiveness simply means no longer carrying that pain in our hearts, ending the days when the past ruled the present. The Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal to throw at another. The one who burns first is yourself. When we cling to hatred, we burn ourselves. Anger, no matter toward whom, consumes our own hearts first. Only by letting go can we rest. Forgiveness is not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Think of how many times we replay the same memory over and over, like a sad film. Each time the heart aches again, the eyes sting again, and suffering is reborn. Yet the one who hurt us may have forgotten, or may no longer even be there. Still, we keep binding ourselves with invisible chains. Forgiveness is when we finally say to ourselves, enough. I don't want to suffer over this anymore. Forgiveness does not arise from reason, but from understanding. When we realize that everyone has shadows, limits, and unhealed pain, we no longer expect perfection. When we see that people act only according to their level of understanding and awareness, anger softens and the heart opens. To understand is to love, and that is the essence of forgiveness. A story tells of a mother who lost her son in war. The man who killed him was captured and sentenced to death. Before the execution, she came to see him. Instead of cursing, she said, I forgive you, for if I keep this hatred, I will kill myself again. As she left, she felt lighter, as though after so many years, she could finally live again. Forgiveness is a journey, not a single decision. Perhaps today we cannot yet forgive, but the very wish to forgive plants the seed of peace. Each day, water it with understanding, compassion, and mindfulness. One day the heart will open, not because we forced it, but because we have grown enough not to need anger anymore. To practice forgiveness is also to release the past. The past cannot be changed, but how we carry it can. We can hold it as a wound or view it as a lesson. When we choose learning over blaming, every pain becomes a step toward growth. And never forget to forgive yourself. We have all made mistakes, hurt others, been weak, been afraid. But mistakes do not make us bad. They make us human. Forgiving ourselves is the first step toward healing. For if we cannot love ourselves in darkness, we will never love others wholly. A small practice: every night before sleep, take a deep breath and whisper, "Today I forgive all, others, and myself." At first, it may feel like mere words, but with time, it becomes real energy. One day you will smile when remembering what once hurt you. That is the sign of freedom. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it opens the future. When we forgive, we stop the cycle of suffering. When we no longer wish to retaliate, the world within us becomes gentle. And at that moment, we truly understand the Buddha's words. Nothing is stronger than compassion, and nothing is more peaceful than forgiveness. In the next part, we will step into the power of stillness, when not responding is the deepest reply, to understand that sometimes words cannot dissolve suffering, and that it is mindful and compassionate silence that becomes the truest voice of wisdom. For forgiveness does not only lie in the words, "I forgive you," but in the quiet of a heart that no longer wishes to cause pain to anyone. In a world where everyone wants to speak, silence becomes rare. Everyone wants to prove they are right, to be heard, to have the last word. Yet sometimes not replying is the most profound answer, not because we are weak, but because we see clearly that arguments never bring happiness. They only disturb the mind further. The Buddha taught, "The one who knows when to remain silent is wise." For silence is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice of peace over conflict. In silence, we hear what words cannot express. We hear the truth within ourselves and the pain behind another's words. Once, someone insulted the Buddha in front of a crowd. He simply smiled and said nothing. When asked why he did not respond, the Buddha calmly replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" That simple teaching holds great wisdom. When we do not react, we free ourselves from the negative energy of others. Silence is the highest form of dialogue. When we are silent, it is not because we have nothing to say, but because we are speaking differently, with calmness, with compassion in our gaze, with the presence of peace. An angry person cannot hear reason. Only when they touch the stillness within us do they begin to hear themselves. In modern life, where everyone competes to speak, those who know how to truly listen are rare. We easily react to criticism, grow irritated at misunderstanding, but if we pause, breathe, and refrain from speaking too soon, we will see that many conflicts never need to happen. Many words, if left unsaid, cause no harm. Many angers, if unexpressed, dissolve like clouds. Stillness is also the space in which we can hear ourselves. Amid noise, we often forget our own voice. We are led by opinions, by praise and blame, by others' expectations. Yet when we sit quietly, close our eyes, and simply breathe, we realize, I am still here. In that stillness, we no longer need to prove, to win, or to stand out. We simply need to be ourselves. A Zen master once said, "The wise do not speak much, but every word they say brings peace." Words born from stillness carry healing energy. Words born from anger deepen suffering. When the mind is calm, the mouth becomes gentle. The practice of silence does not mean suppressing speech, but knowing when to speak and when to stop. Sometimes silence itself is the greatest act of love. When someone is angry, we stay silent to avoid hurting them further. When someone is wrong, we stay silent so they can reflect. When our mind is troubled, we stay silent to listen deeply to what is truly happening. Stillness is the foundation of wisdom, for only in silence can the mind see clearly. Just as a calm lake reflects the sky, a still mind reflects truth. When the mind is restless, it distorts reality. A simple practice: each day spend a few minutes in silence. No phone, no music, no words. Just sit, breathe, and listen. At first, the silence may feel uncomfortable because it forces us to face ourselves. But with time, silence becomes a gentle friend, the place where we find answers beyond words. Silence does not make us weak, it makes us strong. Those with inner strength need not speak in every argument or react to every insult. They let their actions and presence speak for them. True silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of inner peace. An old poem says, "Not speaking doesn't mean not knowing what to say. It's just that words can't express it all." The wind passes, waves settle, the moon becomes full. The person is silent, the mind clear. That is the way. When we can live in such stillness, we no longer fear or feel shaken by others' words, for we know that words are only sounds, passing winds that cannot touch a tranquil heart. And from that stillness, we begin to understand the world, others, and ourselves more deeply. In the next part, we will explore no struggle, no defeat, the art of inner peace, to see that in many cases, knowing when to pause, yield, and stay silent is the highest expression of strength and wisdom. For sometimes victory does not lie in being above others, but in no longer needing to be above anyone. In life, we are often taught that we must fight to get what we want. From childhood, we learn to compete, to win approval, to defend our rightness in every discussion. Yet, as we mature and experience more, we begin to see that often, not fighting is true victory, and not winning is true peace. The Buddha taught, "Better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. For every external victory is meaningless, if within we remain restless. When the mind still needs to prove, defend, or win, it is still bound. The peaceful person needs no victory, for they no longer see anyone as an opponent. Not struggling does not mean weakness or surrender. On the contrary, it is a mark of great inner strength. The wise know that arguments only feed the ego, and the ego is the root of suffering. When we stay silent, it is not because we have lost, but because we have seen the nature of the game, a game where both winning and losing only tire the soul. A Zen master once said, "The wise do not argue with fools, for even in victory there is no honor." When facing someone in anger, what they need is not logic but space to cool down. Arguing with the angry is like pouring oil on fire. Only silence can let the flame die, and within that silence, wisdom begins to shine. One day, a disciple asked the Buddha, "World-honored one, if someone speaks falsely about me, what should I do?" The Buddha replied, "If what they say is true, thank them for showing you what needs to be corrected. And if what they say is false," the Buddha smiled, "then smile, for what they say does not belong to you." That answer is the essence of non-contention, for one who understands no longer needs to argue. When we are no longer stirred by others' words, we are truly free. Not arguing is also a way to protect our energy. Every time we debate, react, or justify, we lose mental energy. After any argument, win or lose, we feel drained. But those who know how to pause, who choose silence, keep their energy intact to nourish peace and clarity. In modern life, not contending is a mindful art of living. When attacked, we do not react. When praised, we do not become proud. When criticized, we do not become sad. The mind remains like a calm lake, unmoved even when strong winds blow. That is true freedom, a simple practice. When faced with something that triggers you, pause and ask yourself, "Is this worth losing my peace over?" That one question, simple yet powerful, helps us return, reflect, and choose calm over conflict. For truly, nothing is more valuable than a peaceful heart. Non-contention does not mean inaction. The wise still act, but act with awareness, not driven by anger. They speak when needed, stay silent when appropriate, and act when the time is right. They neither compete nor avoid. They simply do what is right without seeking recognition. They act from the Dharma within, not from the desire to be understood. When we stop contending, compassion naturally arises. We begin to see that everyone is trying, that everyone has their own fears, their own struggles. Those who hurt us do so because they suffer. Those who rage do so because their wounds are still raw. When we understand this, resistance fades and empathy takes its place. Non-contention is a sign of matured wisdom. Those who lack understanding think they must always be right, must always be acknowledged. But those who truly understand simply smile, knowing that everything passes. Today's victor may falter tomorrow. Today's truth may shift tomorrow. The only thing unchanging is a still mind amidst all change. When we live this way, life becomes light. Praise and blame pass like the wind. Gain and loss come and go like the tide. We no longer chase or flee. We simply stand peacefully in the middle of life and smile. In the next part, we will explore the art of knowing enough and knowing when to stop, to see that after learning not to contend, the key to living fully lies in knowing when enough is enough and when to pause. For one who knows when to stop is not without ambition, but has found peace in each step, without needing to wait for the end of the road. In a world that constantly pushes us to have more money, more fame, more success, knowing how to stop is a rare art of living. Modern humans keep running, rarely asking where they are running to. They are not tired because the road is long, but because they don't know when to rest. The Buddha said, "The one who knows contentment is the richest person." A simple saying, yet profoundly wise. Knowing enough does not mean lacking dreams. It means being free from endless craving. It means living, working, and dreaming without becoming a slave to desire. Desire is like fire. Used wisely, it gives warmth. Used blindly, it burns everything. When we know when to stop, the fire becomes light. When we don't, it turns into smoke that clouds our vision amid our own ambitions. Knowing when to stop does not hold us back. It allows us to walk forward with peace, no longer chased by our desires. A Zen story tells of a wealthy merchant who came to a master and said, "I have everything, yet I feel empty. How can I feel content?" The master poured tea into his cup until it overflowed, yet kept pouring. The merchant exclaimed, "Master, the cup is full. It can't take any more." The master smiled, "Just like your mind, already full of desires. How can there be room for peace? Learn to stop before you overflow." Likewise, life does not demand that we have everything. It only asks that we know when enough is enough. Stop to breathe. Stop to live. Stop to see. For sometimes running faster does not bring us to the goal. It only makes us miss the beauty of the path. Those who know when to stop understand that nothing lasts forever. Wealth, fame, status, all come and go with time. Knowing this, we cling less, fear less, and feel lighter. A simple meal becomes delicious, a small home becomes warm, a sincere word becomes happiness. The Dhammapada says, "Even amidst wealth, the one who is never content is poor. Amidst poverty, the one who is content is rich." True wealth does not lie in one's purse, but in one's heart. When the heart feels lacking, nothing is enough. When it feels content, everything is complete. Knowing enough does not mean giving up effort. We still work, strive, and grow, but with calm within. We act not from fear or comparison, but from a wish to contribute and evolve. When success comes, we feel gratitude. When failure comes, we learn. Whatever the result, peace remains. A simple practice. Each morning upon waking, whisper, "Today I am alive, and that is enough." This small sentence changes everything. Instead of seeing what is missing, we begin to see how much we already have. Breath, eyes, loved ones, opportunities, and time. Knowing when to stop is also wisdom. We stop not because we are weak, but because we see that nothing needs to last forever. Stop an argument, stop anger, stop when work is enough, stop when the heart is tired. That is how we protect our peace and energy. An old monk once said, "Those who do not know how to stop are pushed by life. Those who know how to stop begin to master it." Stop to observe, to awaken, to stay free from the whirlpool of gain and loss, win and lose. For those who know how to stop always see farther than those who only know how to run. In meditation, knowing when to stop is a way of returning. Whenever the mind is pulled away by desire or worry, we simply pause, take a deep breath, and remember, in this very moment, I am enough. Then peace is no longer a distant destination. It becomes the breath of the present. If today you feel weary, don't force yourself to keep running. Pause for a moment, close your eyes, breathe slowly, and feel you are still alive, still here, still enough. Fulfillment does not come from outside, but from the sense of serenity within, the feeling of one who needs nothing more to be happy. In the next part, we will explore joy in small things, the happiness of living slowly, to see that when we stop long enough, we begin to notice the simple joys around us, where peace has always been waiting, only waiting for us to slow down to see it. For the truly happy person is not one who has more, but one who appreciates what they already have, right in this moment. When we are young, we often think happiness is something grand, achieving goals, succeeding, having more than others. But as we grow older, we realize that true happiness hides in the smallest things. A cup of tea in the morning, a soft afternoon sunlight, a sincere greeting, or simply the quiet peace of being alone. The Buddha taught, to dwell peacefully in the present moment is the path of happiness. For happiness does not lie in what we await, but in what we already have. The problem is we are rarely slow enough to notice it. Modern life keeps us running, from work to duty, from ambition to pressure, and in this rush, we lose the ability to enjoy. Living slowly does not mean doing less, but living deeply with each moment. It means eating and tasting your food, walking and hearing the wind, speaking and knowing you are speaking, listening and truly listening. When we slow down, every little thing becomes precious. Every moment becomes complete. A story tells that a disciple once asked his master, "How can I live more peacefully?" The master replied, "Do you eat? Yes. Do you walk? Yes. Then when you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. Don't let your mind wander elsewhere." The disciple fell silent. He realized that what the master said was the secret of happiness, to live fully in each small act. When we truly live slowly, we begin to see what we once overlooked. A ray of sunlight through the window, the chirping of birds on the roof, the faint aroma of morning coffee, all miracles that were always there, only hidden by our busyness. When the mind stops, life begins to reveal its inherent beauty. Living slowly is also a way to listen to ourselves. Amid the noise of work and expectations, we often forget our inner voice. Only when we slow down do we hear what we truly need, fear, and long for. Only by understanding ourselves can we live true to ourselves, and then happiness is no longer something to seek. A simple practice. Each day choose one thing to do slowly, washing your hands, drinking water, or walking. In that moment, stop all thoughts and do just that. Feel each movement, each breath. Even for a minute, your mind will feel different. For when the mind is present, happiness is present. Those who live slowly are those who know how to appreciate. They do not rush to judge, to conclude, or to anger. They know that everything needs time to bloom, even themselves. They do not force perfection upon themselves or demand change from others. They move like clouds, gentle like the wind, carrying peace wherever they go. Someone once asked, "If I live slowly, won't I fall behind?" The master replied, "If you run too fast, are you sure you're moving in the right direction?" Living slowly does not make us slower on the path of growth. It helps us walk more rightly. For those who move fast may go far, but those who move slowly with awareness go deep. Happiness is not a destination, but the way we walk. When we find joy in small things, every day becomes worth living. When we pause to watch the sunset, to give thanks for a meal, to smile at a stranger, we are living a complete life. In today's busy world, those who live slowly live differently. They need little, they make no noise, yet they carry a quiet strength, the strength of one who knows that every moment is precious. In the next part, we will explore unconditional happiness, when peace no longer depends on the outside, to understand that once we have learned to live slowly, know enough, and stop contending, we begin to step into a deeper peace, where happiness no longer depends on anyone or anything, but rests within our own heart. For when we live slowly and cherish each breath, we are already living in happiness without a reason. For much of life, we live believing that happiness must come from the outside, a good relationship, a stable job, a beautiful home, or enough money to be free from worry. Yet even when we have all of these, we still feel lacking, still anxious, still afraid of loss. Only then do we realize that happiness dependent on the external is fragile, because everything outside us is impermanent. The Buddha taught, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." When we live mindfully in each moment, when our heart is peaceful amid change, that is unconditional happiness, the happiness that depends on nothing but our own inner stillness. Unconditional happiness is not loud joy, but the gentle calm within. It is the smile even in difficulty, knowing that everything will pass. It is gratitude for life even when it is imperfect, because we see that we are still alive, still have the chance to love, to learn, to transform. One day someone asked a Zen master, "Master, how can I be happy when the world around me is full of sorrow?" The master pointed to a lake and said, "When the water is still, you see the sky reflected. When it is muddy, the sky is still there. You just can't see it." Happiness is the same. It never disappears. It is only hidden by the waves of the mind. When the mind is still, happiness naturally appears. We often think, when I have this, I'll be happy. When I achieve that, I'll be at peace. Yet when this arrives, we worry about keeping it. When that succeeds, we desire more. The so-called happiness is forever postponed into the future, and we never truly live in it. Unconditional happiness, however, is when we can smile even before having enough, when we can be joyful without reason, when a single deep breath fills us with gratitude. Those who have unconditional happiness do not need to run from suffering, for they understand that joy and sorrow are two sides of the same coin. Without the night, how could we see the dawn? Without loss, how could we learn to cherish? When we stop hating suffering and begin to see it as part of the journey, we step into freedom. Someone once asked, "If happiness doesn't depend on the outside, how do we keep it?" The answer, through mindfulness and understanding. When we are fully present in the moment, we see clearly that everything is temporary. When joy comes, we smile. When sadness comes, we also smile. We neither cling to joy nor resist sorrow. Then our heart becomes like the sky. Clouds may come and go, but the sky remains ever clear. Unconditional happiness does not require perfection. The truly happy person is not one with a flawless life, but one who knows peace amidst imperfection. They accept that they may err, may be weak, may feel sad, and still love themselves as they are. They do not wait for calm to find peace. They discover peace right within the storm. A simple practice. Each day, spend a few minutes just sitting quietly with your breath. No past, no future, just breathing, knowing you are breathing. In that moment, you need nothing else. You are already complete. That is unconditional happiness. Those who have unconditional happiness are no longer shaken by praise or blame. They know others' words neither make them better nor worse. They no longer chase success nor fear failure, for they understand that everything is impermanent. They live like a river, sometimes still, sometimes swift, but always flowing toward the vast ocean. A sign of those living in unconditional happiness is the peace they radiate. It's not that they are always cheerful, but that sorrow never defeats them. They may cry, yet behind the tears is the smile of one who understands. this too shall pass. And when we reach that state, happiness no longer depends on anyone or anything. It cannot be lost when circumstances change. Wherever we are, whatever we do, whether alone or in a crowd, we remain at ease. In the next part, we will explore returning to yourself, the journey of awakening, to see that after all the letting go, understanding, and acceptance, what remains is the self no longer ruled by emotion, but returned to its own silent, luminous nature within. For unconditional happiness is not something to achieve. It is the innate state within us, waiting only for our return. After all the searching, letting go, falling, and healing, every person is walking one single path, the path of returning to themselves. For from beginning to end, happiness, peace, and enlightenment have never been elsewhere. They have always been within, merely forgotten amid the noise of life. The Buddha said, "All beings have Buddha nature," meaning that within each of us lies the seed of awareness, understanding, and love. Yet through ignorance and delusion, we cover it with layers of greed, anger, desire, fear, comparison, and endless craving. The spiritual path is not about gaining something new, but removing what obscures the light already inside. When we begin to look deeply within, we discover something vital. What we call I is merely a collection of emotions, memories, thoughts, and habits. Every time we say, "I am angry," "I am sad," "I am afraid," we identify with that emotion. But if we pause and look deeper, we see that emotions are just waves upon the ocean of the mind, arising and fading, forming and dissolving. The quiet, vast depth beneath, the ocean itself, is our true self. When we observe without judgment, we take a great step toward awakening. We no longer ask, "How can I stop being angry?" but "Who is the one that is angry?" Not, "How can I stop fearing?" but "Who is the one that fears?" This question brings us back to the observer, where suffering ends and pure awareness begins. Enlightenment is not a mystical state. It is seeing clearly the nature of all things, seeing that all is impermanent, all feelings transient, and that the self we cling to is but an illusion. When we see this truth, peace naturally arises. There is no one left to fight, nothing left to win, no reason left to suffer. A Zen master once said, "Before practice, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. During practice, mountains are no longer mountains, rivers no longer rivers. After enlightenment, mountains are again mountains, rivers again rivers." It means that at first we see life in ordinary ways. Then we awaken to impermanence and realize nothing is fixed. And finally, with true insight, we return to the world, living as before, but seeing with new eyes. The mountains remain mountains, but the heart no longer clings. Returning to oneself does not mean withdrawing from the world. On the contrary, it is living within it without being bound by it, working without losing stillness, loving without losing freedom, acting without losing mindfulness. Then every small act becomes meditation, every breath a living sutra, a simple practice. Whenever you feel unsettled, ask yourself, "Where am I right now?" That simple question can bring you home. For most of the time, we live in memories or imagination, not the present. When we return to this very moment, we return to ourselves, to the still, clear, and unconditioned part of being. Returning to oneself is also returning to unconditional love. When the heart is clear, we see that everyone suffers in their own way, and judgment fades. When the mind is still, life no longer appears as a series of problems, but as a natural flow where everything happens in its own time. When we truly return, we no longer seek. For the seeker and the sought are one. Peace is not at the end of the path. It is the walker who moves with awareness, like the person who searches everywhere for the moon, only to find its reflection shining on the water where they stand. Returning to oneself is not a destination, but a process, one breath, one moment at a time. Sometimes we forget, then remember. Sometimes the mind stirs, then becomes still again. Yet as long as we keep returning, the path unfolds by itself. In the next part, we will step into non-self, the gate of liberation, where the journey of return reaches its peak, when we no longer see I as the center, but recognize ourselves as part of the vast flow called life. For only when the small self dissolves do we truly unite with the whole. And that is enlightenment. As we begin to understand more deeply the path of practice and the journey of returning inward, we encounter one of the most essential concepts in Buddhism: non-self, anatta. It is not merely a philosophy, but the key that unlocks true freedom and peace. The word self refers to the sense of I, the one we believe to be the center of all experiences. I think, I want, I am sad, I am happy, I am right, I am wrong. Yet the Buddha taught that this I is only an illusion, created by the five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, all of which are in constant flux. Everything within us changes moment by moment. The body changes, emotions change, thoughts change. So the permanent I we cling to does not truly exist. It may sound abstract, but when we look deeply, we find non-self present in every breath. When we breathe in, air from the world enters us. When we breathe out, it returns to the world. Food, water, energy all pass through us. Nothing truly belongs to us. Even our thoughts and emotions arise and fade, appearing and vanishing like clouds in the sky. When we see this clearly, the heart becomes profoundly light. For most suffering arises from attachment to self, from thinking I must be loved, I must be recognized, I must be right. The more tightly we cling to I, the more weary we become. But when we understand non-self, we begin to let go, letting go of comparison, jealousy, and even pain caused by others, because we see that all are merely fleeting phenomena within the endless flow of existence. Someone once asked a Zen master, if there is no self, who is it that feels pain and joy? The master smiled and said, it is because you believe there is a self that there is one who suffers and one who rejoices. When there is no someone, there is only pure awareness, where pain and joy are but passing breezes. Non-self does not mean we disappear or become indifferent. On the contrary, when no longer driven by ego, we are finally free to love truly. Without the division of me and you, we begin to see ourselves in others, and others in ourselves. Another's pain becomes our pain, another's joy, our joy. This is the boundless compassion the Buddha spoke of. A simple image. When a drop of water falls into the ocean, it is no longer a separate drop. It becomes the sea itself. The drop is not lost. It has merged into immensity. Likewise, one who realizes non-self does not vanish but blends into the great stream of life. In that realization, fear and loneliness dissolve, for we see we have never been apart from the whole. Non-self is also the foundation of forgiveness and empathy. When we understand that each person acts from their own perception, pain, and ignorance, we stop blaming. When we realize that we and they are but different waves of the same ocean, compassion arises naturally. Forgiveness then ceases to be effort, it becomes our very nature. A way to experience non-self is through mindful observation of body and mind. Sitting quietly, notice how the body changes, the breath coming and going, the heartbeat, sensations of warmth or ache. Then watch the mind. Emotions arise and pass. Thoughts appear and vanish. See that nothing is fixed. When this becomes clear, we understand. I am not this body, not this feeling, not this thought. All are just waves. What we truly are is the vast ocean beneath. When non-self is seen deeply, fear disappears. With no I to lose, no I to protect, what is left to fear? Life then flows naturally like breath, doing good without seeking merit, loving without expectation, helping without needing recognition. Those who live with a non-self heart have nothing to prove. They no longer crave praise or fear criticism. They move quietly, yet are full within. Like the wind, they bring coolness wherever they go, needing nothing, holding on to nothing. In the next part, we will explore compassion and wisdom, the two wings of an awakened life, to see that non-self does not make one empty, but instead opens the heart wide to live fully in love and clarity. For when the self dissolves, only compassion and the light of wisdom remain, the two wings that let the mind soar in the sky of freedom. If life is like a bird flying through infinite space, then compassion and wisdom are its two wings, carrying the heart toward liberation. One cannot exist without the other. Compassion without wisdom can become soft and easily swayed by emotion. Wisdom without compassion turns cold and distant. Only when both wings spread together can we live with true awareness and joy. Compassion is the capacity to open the heart, to understand another's suffering and wish to ease it. Yet compassion is more than emotion. It is deep insight into the nature of suffering. When we see that suffering is part of life, we stop blaming or demanding. We simply wish to soothe. Compassion is when we can see someone hurting us and still recognize their pain. The Buddha said, "Hatred is never ended by hatred. Only by love is hatred ended." This is an eternal truth. When someone is angry at us, if we respond with anger, the fire only grows. But if we respond with silence and love, the fire naturally dies. The compassionate are not weak. They are strong enough not to retaliate. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to see things as they truly are, to see beyond appearances and recognize that all is impermanent and ever-changing. Wisdom does not arise from books, but from listening, observing, and experiencing deeply. With awareness, we see that every joy and every sorrow is a lesson. Wisdom teaches us not to cling to joy, nor to fear pain. A wise person knows that helping others is not always through action. Sometimes it is through quiet presence. A gentle gaze, a warm smile can already heal a wounded heart. Compassion moves us to love. Wisdom shows us how to love rightly. Compassion wants to save others from suffering. Wisdom helps us not to suffer with them. A Zen master once said, "Compassion without wisdom is the road to exhaustion. Wisdom without compassion is the road to loneliness." Indeed, one who loves without clarity easily falls into sorrow, for they suffer with others' pain without knowing how to transform it. And one who has wisdom but not compassion sees life as an illusion and becomes cold and distant. But when compassion and wisdom unite, one becomes loving without suffering, strong yet gentle. In modern life, we need these two qualities more than ever. Amidst the noise where everyone wants to speak, the wise know how to be silent. Amidst arguments, the compassionate know how to smile. Amidst judgment, the awakened know how to listen. When we live this way, we not only lighten our own hearts, but also spread peace to those around us. A simple practice: when someone makes you uncomfortable, take a deep breath. Look at them with compassion and remind yourself, this person is also suffering. This simple thought can dissolve much anger, and when you feel your heart calm, smile. For that is the power of compassion and wisdom arising within you. The wise do not live to win. The compassionate do not live to conquer. They live to spread the light of understanding and love. And when one lives with these two qualities, every action, every word, every step becomes a practice of the Dharma, bringing benefit to all. In the next part, we will journey into the art of living peacefully amidst the storms. where we learn to keep the heart steady in life's turbulence. For compassion and wisdom are the two lamps that guide us through the storm without being swept away, walking through life while keeping peace within. Life is never truly calm. There will always be sudden winds, fierce waves, and changes that shake us. Sometimes we think we're in control, yet a small event can throw our hearts into turmoil. Thus, what matters is not wishing for a life without storms, but learning to stay calm amidst them. The Buddha taught, "No one can make you suffer unless you allow it." This is not a denial of pain, but a reminder that its root lies not outside, but in our reaction within. Circumstances can change, but if our heart is steady, nothing can make us fall. When storms arise, our first instinct is to resist. We try to control, to reshape, to make life fit our will. But the more we resist, the more we tire. Like a person struggling in water, the more they flail, the more they sink. Only by relaxing and breathing can they float. Life is the same. When we stop fighting, we begin to rise above. Living peacefully amidst storms does not mean ignoring hardship, but facing it with calmness and wisdom, seeing challenges without fear, seeing those who hurt us without hatred, seeing losses with gratitude for still being alive, still learning to love. A story tells of a monk and his disciple. The disciple asked, "Master, how can I remain peaceful when life has so much suffering?" The master poured a handful of salt into a cup of water and said, "Drink it." The disciple grimaced, "It's too salty." The master smiled, led him to a lake, and tossed in another handful of salt. "Now drink." The disciple drank and said, "It's still clear and sweet." The master said, "Suffering in life is like salt. You can't avoid it, but you can expand your heart. When your heart is like a cup, you suffer. When it is like a lake, you are at peace." That is the art of peace amidst storms, expanding the heart, deepening the vision. When we understand that suffering is part of the journey, we no longer fear it. When we see that every upheaval teaches something, we become grateful even for adversity. Then, no matter how fierce the storm, it is but passing rain on a long path. One who lives peacefully is not one who never suffers, but one who does not let suffering steal their peace. They may cry, but their tears are clear and light. They may feel pain, but without torment. They understand that like clouds passing, pain too is only a temporary guest in the heart. A helpful practice is to return to the breath whenever the inner waves rise. Simply pause, inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and remind yourself, "I am here. This too shall pass." Each breath is like an oar, keeping your soul's boat steady upon the restless sea. When the mind is calm, life feels lighter. Living peacefully amidst storms is also trusting in karma and interdependence, understanding that everything comes for a reason and will leave when its time is done. There is no need to cling or escape. Just live wholeheartedly, stay mindful, sow good seeds, and let life unfold naturally. Those who live calmly amidst turmoil radiate an energy that soothes others. They do not preach or lecture. Their very stillness brings peace. This is the energy of one in harmony with themselves and the universe. And when we live like that, there is nothing left to fear. For we know that no matter how great the waves, the harbor of peace lies within our own heart. Life, whether still or stormy, is but a river flowing through each breath. If you've listened this far, perhaps a small stillness has already bloomed within you, and that stillness is the seed of awakening, the seed of coming home. We need not search further. We need only stop, breathe, and smile with this very moment. When the heart is calm, life softens. When we are silent, peace naturally finds us. And then we see, happiness was never far. It has always lived in every heartbeat, every step, every mindful breath. If these reflections from Just Be Silent life naturally changes, peace will find you, have touched even a small part of your heart, please leave a like as a way of sending loving energy to us, and subscribe to Dharma in Motion so you won't miss the next journeys, where each teaching, each story, each breath gently reminds you, you have never been lost. Thank you for walking alongside, for listening, and for flowing with these peaceful words. See you again in the next sharing from Dharma in Motion, where we learn to walk slower, breathe deeper, and live more fully in each moment of awakening. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.